Good morning guys and welcome back to Damo Drives, bringing real reviews to real people and answering some of those questions other channels might not talk about. I picked up the new Cupra Formentor e-hybrid the other day. I've done a full review on that car and I looked at things, well, pretty much everything you'd want to know about that car. The big point of that day was looking at MPG. So the car had 100% charge, took it on around 100 or so mile trip and saw what the average fuel consumption was, because that's the reason, a major reason you buy one of these. Now this car, I've got it for Sunday today, so I've got something a bit different. I've got some chores. Well, they're not very exciting, but I'm going to make them exciting. I need to pick up some spring onions and some mayonnaise. Please bear with me, don't click off just yet. So what I've done, there's a Tesco's about a mile away from me, but I've gone, nah, I'm not going to bother with that one. So I've plotted in around a 100-mile trip to pick up onions and mayonnaise. And the thing is, there's no charge in the car. I haven't charged it overnight, and I want to see what happens if you run an e-hybrid but don't actually charge it. What's going to happen to your MPG? So that's the premise of this video. It's not the onions and mayonnaise, it's what happens if you don't charge an e-hybrid. Now, before we get going though, please click on the subscribe button and notification bell so you're alerted when new videos come out. If you haven't seen that other video, a quick look around the outside of the car. From the front, this looks really aggressive. We've got LED lights on here, LED fog lights, lovely Cupra badge at the front, and I think from this angle it looks really aggressive. There's lots of swoops and sharp angles, and then round the side it gets even better for me. This with the 19-inch alloys, which comes on the V2 model, so that's the second model up, looks really nice. We've got these sharp swage lines running down here, but you can also see again some more sharp angles here, and I think that gives the rear haunches, just makes it look wider and more aggressive. Spoiler at the top, got these coast to coast lighting, Cupra badge. You'll notice there's no Formentor badge anywhere. And then lower down we've got, well, not exhaust pipes, they're just holes and they're all blanked off. Now, I think the reason they do that, I'm guessing, is because these parts are going to be used on the other sportier models and they've got real exhaust pipes, so they're probably not going to refabricate a new diffuser, new bumper just for the sake of this car. Just guessing anyway. So in the boot, now this is the my year 2021, so you have to make do with a manual tailgate. The new one, which is pretty much the same, is optioned with electronic tailgate. Good amount of room in here, loads of camera equipment. We've got the cables. Now it does actually come with a charger if you're out, or you buy a wall box. It comes with that as standard, along with a traditional granny charger. Split seats. So, oh, there we go. Camera for the rear facing camera. And then we'll open up the back. We'll have a really quick look in there. Open that up. Open the rear. So again, I think you'd be really comfortable in the back here. It's full of junk and stuff like that from filming. But you could easily fit 3 adults in the back here. Central armrest, cup holders, tri-zone climate control, USB Type-C charging ports, lovely, nice and more Napa leather. We've got child seats, so we've got Isofix. It's just a very nice place to be. So what we're going to do now, I think we're going to hop into the car and do some more driving, because it's all about the drive, isn't it? It's not just about being outside. So keys in the cup holder. There is a little tray up here, you could put them if you so wanted. So press the start button, wait for the infotainment system to kick in. There we go, so that's come on, binging and bonging. Digital dash has come on. Please hold the line caller, wait for this to, yes, this to kick in. Okay, so we've already got some driving data. So my long term, so this is based on yesterday's, 53.4 If you haven't watched that video, you'll understand why those figures have dropped so much. But what I want to do is reset, let's turn the music down, reset this trip in particular. So we need to go to, this is a bit of a memory thing now, go to the, come on car, have a think about it. It's having a bit of a senior moment, it's going a bit slow. Vehicle, interior, infotainment, not that one. I seem to keep pressing that reset. So down here we've got reset trip recorder, reset that, there we go. So now we've completely reset where we were. Now if we look at the battery, you'll see what I mean. We've got 1% and 0 miles. I can't do anything with that. So that's it. Let's head off, put it in drive. If there was battery, that would actually have changed to pull away in electric mode, and the car does that by default. But as there is no electric battery, we can't really do anything about that. So what we're going to do now, I think, is head into Brighton, because I want to go through Brighton, through some towns, motorways, because driving something like an e-hybrid, something like this one, you can change over to just being on electric power only. And that's where this car really comes into its own, is when you've got to potter through a town, because stop-start in a petrol really is not a good thing. At the moment, I think, I can't remember the exact figure, but I think this is about 100 kilos heavier with the batteries and the electric motors. So unfortunately I'm lugging around all that extra weight and not actually using it at the moment. So that's a bit of a problem. Now e-hybrids, certainly the Formentor, you've got a couple of people who would be really well suited. Someone who's doing shorter trips, because this will do 37 miles on just electric, but realistically you're probably looking more like 30. So if you were doing short trips around town and you could keep charging it, then this is a perfect choice. That's the thing with an e-hybrid. You need to constantly charge it whenever you get the opportunity. It's not, you don't need to worry about charging it completely up to 100%, but it's maybe you go to the supermarket, good segue, you plug it in to charge there and you leave it for half an hour to 45 minutes. You go home, you plug it in for overnight. Just wherever you go, if you can just plug it in, add another 20% or 30% to the battery, you'll start getting some of those claimed figures of over 200 miles WLTP. Also, the other people who would be very well suited to this is someone who buys this as a company car. Talking to Aaron, the sales manager at Cupra and Seat down in Hendy, said a lot of these cars are going as company cars, and the reason for that is the tax implications. You only pay 11% benefit in kind on this particular model. If you went for the petrol equivalent, so 190 brake 1.5 turbo, that jumps up to 38%, which is a big problem when it comes to tax, because you're going to be paying, I think the difference is like £75 for this versus over £200 for the petrol. So you are going to save yourself quite a bit of money if you had this over, say, a 3-year term. There is a difference obviously in price, another couple of £1,000 between the two, but that would certainly be offset if you own this car for, like I said, 2 or so years. What I can do, because I've got no battery, I can try and get some of that back before we get into the city. It's really, I've probably left it a bit late, but if we press this button over here, that's going to say reserve battery, so I'm going to put that up to say 20%, and that now the car should use the petrol engine to try and get that battery up to 20%. I don't know how long that would take, but it's probably more like 20 miles as opposed to 1.5, but in theory that should be going up. Now, a nice little feature that the tech genius at Cupra was telling me, if you're someone like a company car owner that isn't concerned about fuel consumption, it's more about performance, What you can do is use this mode, this reserve mode, to give you almost like a KERS boosting system like you'd find in race cars. So what you'd do, for example, like I've done, set at 20%. So the battery is being charged by the petrol engine, and when you pull away from lights or wherever, or want a boost of acceleration really quickly, it can use both the electric and petrol. It will absolutely drain your fuel consumption, which is obviously a bad thing, but it will give you that full 201 brake horsepower, loads of torque off the lights, or torque filling, so that's waiting for the turbo to spool up. So if you're not interested and want to hurt your fuel consumption really badly, then you can use this. The other option you have for that, for example, say I was, well, I am driving into Brighton, but if I had been a bit more prepared, what I could have done is at the beginning of my journey gone, I know I'm going into town, I know I'm going to need, say, 50% of my battery, so you'd set this to whatever number, so 50%, and by the time you get there, you've then got 50%, and then you can go over to the electric mode, so the E mode, and then just use the electric motor, or leave it in hybrid, and it will, in theory, automatically switch over. So 2 use cases for this particular section. It's 6% and 1 mile now we've got into central Brighton. It still won't allow me to go over just into E mode. I think it's got to be higher than that as a percentage, but we're going to turn off the reserved power and just leave it in normal hybrid mode. Now it should, in theory, use electric and petrol. And when we pull away now, it's probably going to prove me wrong. It should use the electric motor to get me going, as long as I don't floor it. And then the petrol will kick in after that. So in theory, there we go. So the blue bar goes up. I'm just using electric, and then it cuts over. So it's using that initial acceleration and torque to get me off the line, and then after that it's going back over to using the petrol. So we've driven through Brighton and we're heading towards Worthing now. We're on the A27, so slightly faster bit of road rather than all the stop-start that went on in the town. Now, looking at my fuel consumption, we're on 44.6 mpg. I knew that figure would be nowhere near the figure we had the other day when we were actually using the electric mode. So yeah, 44.7 over the course of 29 miles. Now, we've saved the long-term trip information, so let's see how that's affected it. So 7 hours and 14 of driving, 153 miles, and that's come down to 52.2. So yeah, we can definitely see what happens if you decide to run this as a normal petrol and not charge the batteries in this thing. This lovely ambient lighting that goes around here. It's really smart in this cabin, really well put together. It's nice copper stitching. There's lots of copper accents all over the place. Steering wheel, round the vents, stitching, obviously the colour of the Cupra logo. It's everywhere. Seats, much copper. The company loves copper colours, but I think it looks really nice. Really well put together. Leather steering wheel, leather on the dash. All of the touch points are really nice. Well, it's owned by the Volkswagen Audi group, so you'd expect good quality materials. A lot of this will be familiar if you've driven any of the Seat products, because this in essence is the sporty arm of Seat. They split off quite recently, really, in fact. So we've got the same sort of parts bin, so the fundamentals of this found in the Golf, the e-Golf, the Leon. So lots of bits of it you will find very, very familiar, but that's not a bad thing. If you make good quality parts, why not have them across your various cars you make? So I like it a lot in here. certainly been driving for quite a while now. A lot of that has been through towns and stop-start. We've had a couple of faster bits of road, but due to the monsoon that decided it was going to suddenly visit East Sussex, we've not managed to get up to decent motorway cruising speeds. But I think we're going to head over to the A23, which is pretty much a motorway, and head up towards Gatwick Airport. And that's about, according to my sat nav, 32 minutes. So that'll add a few more miles on there and give a bit more of a realistic distance in terms of MPG. Quick check up on that option. We're on 43.4 miles per gallon. So let's push on them, and you'll join me in a little while once we've done some of the very dull motorway driving. Made it up to the airport. Here we go. This is drop off. I'm not dropping anything off. Oh, I'd love to be on holiday at the moment. It's very quiet over here. There we go. That's as much as the airport as we're going to do. Fuel consumption wise, then 42.6 mpg. So it's not really changed that much. It seems to be leveling itself out on that cruise up here. But what I want to do though now is we're going to be heading back towards Sat in Brighton, well, Cupra Sat in Brighton. But I want to try and actually have some battery, because I made a bit of a hash of it last time. The fact that, yes, I could charge it up, but I didn't give it long enough to actually do that. And there's been some interesting things I've found out while cruising on the motorway on the way up, I want to tell you about. Yeah. Going to be heading back on to the 23 now, to Brighton and Crawley, and we can charge this battery up. And like I said, I want to tell you about a few things I've noticed while driving on the way up. Let's get out this junction and we're off. So let's change the mode, press the car, press the battery button, and this is where we want to go into the mode to save or charge the battery back up, because at the moment we've got 0 miles, which doesn't really help. What we'll do now, press the little button here, and I'm going to try and get up. I want to say I want to get to town. I want 40% battery. So that's going to take some work and probably hit my fuel consumption, but never mind. So the things I've noticed driving up here, to start off with no electric power, the engine has to work quite hard to get you up to speed. So I'm doing 56. I want to accelerate hard. It's a little bit noisy. It's not the end of the world, because once you're up there, then that's absolutely fine. Another quite a cool thing you might be able to pick up, if I accelerate quite hard again, you'll see I get the word boost written up there. So I'm going to quickly turn that off in hybrid. So this will go blue and it says boost in there. So if I accelerate hard, it says boost. Interesting. So you get that extra electrical energy to get you up to speed, and then that cuts in. So let's put this back over and we'll increase that. Like I said, we want to go up to 40%. Now I found the best way of charging this, or the most efficient, if your foot's gently on the accelerator, we'll see there's a green bar down there. Even though I'm going forwards, it's charging, but there seems to be a certain position where it will stop charging. Seems if you accelerate a bit too much, the engine hasn't got enough oomph in it to propel you that way and charge your battery. So just about there, it's charging. But if I accelerate, then So it's a bit fiddly. What I'd recommend, and I've only just noticed this, if we put the cruise control back on. So I'm going to stick that, we'll put it up at 70 miles an hour. And when the car's up to the speed, it knows, I think it must know the ideal position to be charging the battery and keeping the engine up. So at the moment I've got probably an inch of charge on there. So we can see down there this bar is growing. That's the amount of regenerative braking on the amount of power the engine's putting back in to the battery. So to me that seems the best option to actually charge your battery. So we'll have a look. I have got, according to my sat nav, I have 25 miles to central Brighton to try and get that battery up to a slightly higher level, and hopefully, cross fingers, we can go over to actually using E-mode once we're actually in Brighton. So see what happens in around half an hour's time. So we're back in Brighton now. Let's see how that half an hour trip has affected not only the MPG, but how much battery have we gained back. So in terms of battery, 28% and 9 miles. So that's not bad. Let's go over to E-mode. So we're in full electric now. But what's this done to our MPG? We'll switch over to that. And the survey says 39.9. So we've been travelling 3 hours 57 minutes, 108 miles. Yeah, 39.9. That's not exactly great, is it? We saw in the previous video how well this can do when you're using the electricity and petrol combined, when you've actually plugged it in, because the name plug-in hybrid gives it away what you should be doing. But if you're buying this and you're not going to charge it, as I mentioned before, then they're the sort of numbers you can expect to get. So around the 40 mpg. And also to state, I was driving quite sensibly as well. I was in the driving modes. I wasn't in sport or anything. Everything on relaxed, comfort mode. So that possibly may have dropped even lower if you were going to put it in sport mode and push on a bit more. So decisions, what do you do? Your choice really. If you can live with that, then fair enough, and possibly go for the petrol option. But hopefully I've answered the question in the video, what happens if you don't charge your car and run it as a normal car? Well, you get about 40 miles per gallon instead of 100 and something miles per gallon. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Big thanks to my friends at Hendy Cupra, Hendy Seat in Brighton for lending me the car. If you've got any questions about this or any other car from Seat or Cupra, please put in the comments down below. Hopefully this has been interesting as well as entertaining. Oh, I'm about to be reversed into by a Mercedes. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I'm off to Tesco's now to get my spring onions and mayonnaise. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.